Got one up top. You got room. You're clear.
Well, at the suggestion of a well-respected online racer, at least I think that's what he meant, I'm going to do a voice commentary. And I picked this vid because it's probably hard to understand why I recorded 100 laps of the race. Well, maybe not that hard for those of us who are into sim racing. But I wanted to do this because I know I have a decent setup, not a great setup, and I wanted to show you guys, you know, some of the decisions that I go through during the race. So it's about 100 laps to go, third stage. I believe I won both the first and second stage, which is a good way to get points. You know, I know a lot of you guys probably don't race stages. I race full races, one times tire wear, pretty much normal everything, just expanded restarts because they seem to be a bit more realistic. Though, to be fair, expanded restarts on the start of a race and certain restarts, you know, are more realistic, you know, like anything under 10 laps to go in a stage or the end of a race, you know, having them automatically close up is probably more realistic. I think we saw that in NASCAR 14 and 15 victory, whatever you want to call them, that kind of thing. Once you get under 10 laps, you know, the nature of the AI changed. And it does here too. You definitely tell, especially in tracks where you're running close quarters like Daytona and Talladega. You get down under 10 laps, and everything gets a little harder, regardless of your skill settings and stuff, you know, for the AI, which is cool. It's normal, you know. Everybody fights with the checkered flag. So here I am, and I have time, so I am not. If you've seen any of my other videos, I'm not doing a rush up to the front because I'm running out of time and trying to get as much as I can before time runs out, kind of thing. So here I am, second place, taking tires. Why am I taking tires? Because, well, I need an adjustment. I'm concerned about my right rear tire wear eventually getting loose on a longer run. With 100 laps to go, unless we get a lot of cautions, I'm probably going to be, you know, running. So that's a concern in the long term. So I'm trying to adjust for it, taking air pressure out of the right rear, so the air pressure doesn't build up as quickly and cause a loose condition as fast. It's you know, sometimes it's a fix and sometimes it's a band-aid. But during a race, since you can only adjust wedge and tire pressure, I'm going with the, at this point, in my mind, the lesser of two evils, the tire pressure on the tire that I'm concerned with. Setup guides will tell you, in real life will tell you, that the corner that's running the hottest is the one to adjust on, and that's the one, because it's working the hardest. And usually get the most effect from it. Not always. Sometimes it's better to go to the opposite, you know, corner. But that's advanced setup theory, which, you know, I'm not really trying to get into here. Okay, so here I am. I know there's only like 12, 13, 14 cars or trucks on the lead lap. So I can pit with impunity, knowing that I can get back up to the front, as you just saw. As long as I don't adjust my setup to the point where I can't do that. As long as I keep either maintaining the same quality setup or improve it slightly, hoping to improve it, of course. And making good progress.
Still there.
So, ways to win a race. Okay, well, there's no restriction on how many times you can pit for tires, so when you're getting near the end of the race, this is the second half, and you know there's only like, you know, 12 cars or trucks on the lead lap, you know, and you got a good setup, you pretty much can pit as many times as you want. Now, each time you come out with fresh tires and the AI doesn't pit for tires, you're going to be that much faster than it. I mean, it might only be a tenth or 2/10 you know, depending on a bunch of variables. But if you have a good setup like I do, that has the potential of being, you know, making the fastest lap on the track, then you're going to have a significant advantage the more the AI runs on old tires and you pit, you know, for fresh ones. So that's one strategy to keep up front, especially if you don't have a winning setup. You know, it's one of the strategies to keep you up front, keep you in the mix, you know, and just, you know, mind your P's and Q's, don't get into too much trouble, you know, just get a good solid finish kind of thing, get lucky and get an opportunity to win the race if cautions fall right, etc. But you also got to manage that, and you see in a lot of my videos, you know, I'll pit sometimes with like 7 laps to go, and I'll start back from like, you know, top 15 or once in a blue moon in certain situations, you know, like 19th or 18th place, and I'll go on and I'll be able to win the race. That's only because I know in that race, and probably for the first or second stage, I had to do something similar, and I did that, or I just pitted at some point and, you know, was that far back and was able to take the lead in X amount of laps. Now, you know, when you do that, it's not just setup and it's not just skill or experience. There's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of holes that have to be there, you know, coming up through the field, you know, I was looking for a particular clip earlier, and I came across a Michigan vid where I started, I think, 14th. Haven't posted it yet. I started like 14th with 2 laps, with the 2-lap shootout at the end, and won the race. I won it by a nose because I did not have the best setup, but there I used, you know, tire strategy, and I wasn't quite sure I could make it to the lead because my setup wasn't that good, and I think the AI wasn't on much, you know, it was maybe on 10-lap tires, not like 20-lap tires, so I didn't know, but I also have good gearing on restarts, so I knew that I could pass some cars before, you know, we get to turn 1. And while they're still accelerating with higher gearing, I can, you know, accelerate and you know, get to them. You know, gearing for like a track like Texas and a track like Michigan is a little bit different. It's very similar, but you got to think a little bit differently. You got to think more like Talladega or Daytona. But then again, you know, the way the AI works, if you're playing, you know, career or even a single championship season or quick races, is a little different than you get online. They're a little more predictable, you know, which is cool. You know, if you're racing with guys for years, whether it be online or whatever, or in real life, you kind of get used to the moves that they make, and you kind of know, you know, in certain situations when they're going to do that, and, you know, when they're going to zig or when they're going to zag. So, you know, it's a rough simulation of real life, but, you know, not as random as it should be, as we all know, for those of us who also have raced online. Anything can happen. You know, just because you're in the lead means absolutely nothing. But anyway, so that's tire strategy. You know, coming in, pitting as often as you can. If you know you can either get back to the spot you pitted from, or you know, you're behind on setup and you just want to use fresher tires to maintain pace until you can, you know, later on in other races or time you could figure out a better setup or etc. So tires is a real big thing. The other thing that I do is manage your gas. Now, I race full races, and so, you know, I think here at Dover you get like 63 laps to a tank of gas with the gearing that I have, and it does change. You got to really use a radically different gear. I know at one track I used a radically different gear, and I actually got less gas mileage. You know, I used up more gas. You know, I started out with like, say, 63, and I ended up, you know, like only being able to go like 57 or something. You know, I was like, that was a surprise because I lost the race because of that. I was 2 laps short. So yeah, it's something to watch, when you get into a race, like in the first stage, and that's for me, like first stage, first part of the race to the first pit stop. It's like, what's the car truck doing? Am I the fastest guy? Do I need to make an adjustment? Am I having a problem? Like I'm watching here, you see right rear, where is 75% as opposed to 78% for the right front? As you look at left and right side first, at least that's what I do, and you see, my temperature is much lower on the right rear, but as you can see, the left and right sides, the inside temperature on the tire, but the side temperature on the tire is quite high. The right side's roughly where it should be in relationship to the front, but the left inside, look at that. That's like 20, 25 degrees hotter. And since there's no rear camber adjustments, that's a concern, because that's partly causing that tire to wear more, which means I don't have the right balance. Which, now as I see that, the way NASCAR Heat 4 reacts to setup changes, I know that's a signal to me I need to put more wedge into it. How much? Depends. I have a certain series of setups that I base around certain percentages of front weight and wedge, and it's kind of track size dependent, the exceptions being Daytona and Talladega for the most part. But essentially more wedge for the bigger tracks and less wedge for the smaller tracks, with the mile and a halfs being the most common. Most of my setups, I think all of them, are 49.6 wedge with a 52% front weight. And I came upon that because I hit a really good setup at Atlanta, and I just kept kind of like, okay, well, I suck everywhere else in Heat 4 where I did really good in Heat 3, so let me try that as a baseline, and then, work setups off of that, do the individual tire pressure and track bar and, the other settings, gearing 2, a lower gear, which is higher numerically. That's right. In mechanic speak, a lower gear means that it's got a higher actual number. So a 6 gear is a lower gear than a 4 gear. Yep, that's mechanic speak. That's something that I don't know if everybody's aware of and can cause confusion. And, probably more mechanic than anything else in my life. So, when I say low gear, I mean, you're raising that number. So, like, you go into a track with a 3 gear, you get X amount of gas mileage, and, you realize, oh, everybody else is running, a 333 or a 330, combination thereof, and then all of a sudden you're not getting as good gas mileage. Now, it might mean nothing to you guys who, don't race long races, that always, or most of the time race within the gas range of the vehicle you're racing. But, again, I gear everything towards a full race. So, gas mileage is important. So at the beginning of the race, I'm pretty much looking to keep it packed full of fuel, because when I do pit the next time and everybody is pitting, if I'm taking less gas than everybody else, then I got an advantage, and I have a shorter pit stop. Even if I'm taking 4 tires. If I'm taking 4 tires and a quarter can of gas or a half can or whatever, and they're taking 2 cans, well, that's how many seconds difference. It's just when the tires are done, I'm gone. I don't have to wait on gas, because gas usually takes longer on a pit stop, and it seems to work here. So in the beginning of the race, keep the vehicle full gas, and then when you get to the third stage, that's when you might do things a little differently. You want to plan your last pit stop. If I have a good setup, but it's not a winning setup, but I know I'm fast on the short run, which tends to be the case in most of my setups. So like if I got an 80 lap run and I got a 60 lap range, then I want to run my gas out. I want to be pitting with 20 laps to go, because then I'll probably, I didn't mean to get into Gen Joe there, but see the 59 to 63, I lost it. When I cut, it over-rotated because that right rear is losing grip at, 60% tire wear. So that's not good. So see, I should be raising the wedge to 46.4, which is, I think, what I eventually did. But here I'm still messing with tire pressure. And I'm also doing something else. I took some air pressure out of the right rear for that specific issue, and then I said, you know what? These are long runs. Let me lower the tire pressure a pound all around, because on a long run I'm going to have more time for the air pressure to build up, and that will kind of mask that right rear issue a little bit, because it'll make the truck a little bit tighter on the long run. And since I at this point I feel the issue is probably a spring change, that I'm not going to be able to just fix it with a quick fix. I'm extra Band-Aid. I put an extra bandage on it to keep the truck from getting that radically loose, where I over-rotate again after like 20 laps or whatever it was. Because in this race, I believe I got like a 20-lap truck. It's like no one can touch me for about that long if I'm running as hard as I can, and then it starts to fall off and they start to catch me. Could be less than that. You guys can watch and see. But I know I don't have the fastest truck for 40 laps, or 50 laps, or 60 laps. So here, like on the restart, I was first. So I was first. Why? Because I don't think I took a whole lot of gas with me. I wasn't even paying attention. But anyway, I was out first, so I just took off. So all I'm doing now is trying to build a lead. I'm trying to build a lead so that I can maintain the lead longer. 62 laps remaining. And I get 62 laps, so I don't have to pit for gas anymore. This is that pit stop. Now, I can still pit, but I don't have to. But I know that I won't win the race if it goes green all the way. I'm going to need cautions to be able to win this, because after about 20 or so laps, they're going to start to catch up to me. The only saving grace is if I can be so fast and catch the tail end of the pack and start to pass lap cars, I might be able to slow the cars behind me down and maintain the lead longer. Now, without any cautions, that's my strategy here. It's just like go, just like go. And I'm watching my tire wear, because if I start pushing it like 24-1s, I'm gonna wear that right rear down. See, it's wanting to be a little bit loose already. So I see, I kind of like, if you heard me, I didn't hit that corner as hard. I'm like, okay. So now I got to balance keeping my strategy, but like not pushing it through the turns as much, changing my line a little bit. So you see, I backed off. I'm not hitting the gas or getting into it as hard as I was off the turns, because that seems to be where I get the most wear. It's probably a little tire slippage there, which I can manage with my throttle pedal. But the wear is down. You see, even though the temps are not so bad, I'm actually 10 degrees lower on the right rear middle than I want to be. Now, what do I do here? Okay, see, no fuel, because okay, half can, because you want, just in case there's an overtime, if you don't got a pit and it's two laps, I know I can hold the lead, if I'm in front, or I can grab the lead going to turn one on the restart. So I'm pretty confident I can. So I'm thinking about that. So here I am where I'm at 15th. So 15th is not so bad. There's still like over 50 laps to go. So I got plenty of time to get back to the lead. And I was the only one, except for Enfinger, who probably wrecked, who pitted. So all these guys have old tires. So I got the best truck of all these guys in front of me. For how long is another question. But right now, I know I'm faster than all these guys. So I'm making my way up through here. I'm not going crazy, because I don't have to. so I can save some of my tires for a longer run out front once I get there. It's 54 laps is a long time, and I'm like, no. I'm not going to be able to go 50 laps because I think some of these guys have to pit, and they'll have fresher tires on me. And if they pit under caution, I'm going to have to pit. So basically, I know caution comes out, I still got to pit if I want to have a chance, a good chance of winning this race. And as the truck's a little bit squirrely, probably because of the low tire pressures. So you got to be careful on the restarts. If you watch racing, you hear them say, "Oh, the first 2 laps usually takes about 2 laps for the pressure to build up." Depends. If you get a little more radical and lower tire pressure, it take longer than 2 laps. Take about 5 laps. Same thing if you guys remember the height issues when they had the height rule. You can only be so high off the ground, and then they just eliminated it so you can put it right on the ground and scrape along and such. Well, if it scrapes too much, then your body is contacting the track instead of your tires, and you lose handling. You basically just slide up, like getting a splitter on the ground, kind of thing. So, too low tire pressure, can put your truck on the ground. Especially, I have to be aware of it because I run, 4-inch ride heights. I'm all the way down on the ground for aero purposes, lower center of gravity, etc., etc. On any track where aero is concerned, like Dover, it's engine, aero, and then handling. Because you got to handle down the straight, but you got to get through the turns. But because if you got a good enough setup to get you off, say it's 153 miles an hour off the turn, 166 in. So even though I'm sliding up and going to where I like to run in the middle, I'm still fast enough. Let's see what time is. 24.2. That's terrific. It's gonna be okay. But right rear, bothering me a little bit. So then you got gas. So I don't have to worry about gas for the rest of the race. So if the whole field pits or the front runners pit and along with me, they might be taking gas. I'm not taking gas. I don't know how the AI works. I have no evidence to say that they're not filling up, at the end. And a vehicle with less weight in it, I think the average weight of a full tank of gas in NASCAR is 400 pounds. Smaller tanks would be less, but I know in Cup it's about 400 pounds of weight. So if you're carrying 200 pounds and they're carrying 400, well, that's like having, they're carrying an extra person around with them in the car, and that's going to slow them down. It might not slow them down tremendously, but, hey, it only takes a tenth a lap faster to have, a winning vehicle. So, you're talking nth degrees, but all these things add up, kind of thing. So we got tires. Get as many tires as you can if it's not hurting you, and gas, gas mileage and gas management, and then you got my strategy, just get out front, build up a lead, try to put a cushion between you and them, and hope for a caution, and hope for a caution, not with 5 laps to go. With this setup, I'm like 10 laps. So like 13 laps to go, 14, 15 laps to go. I'm like, okay, I'm confident, Some other things, let's see. Oh, aero. Aero's important at all tracks, even Martinsville, but less so. If Daytona and Talladega aero is the most critical, Martinsville aero would be the least critical factor. But still a factor. But as you all know, you can erase a really screwed up, screwed up car at Martinsville and still do well. Not so much the other tracks. When you get damage on the nose at Daytona and Talladega, it's going to slow you down. It's going to hurt you when you're in the lead, or it can hurt you in the turns, making the car tight, truck tight. So you got to be careful. you gotta try not to do that. That's overcutting. That's my right rear imbalance issue, but still, okay, going a little. You want to go in tight when you're passing somebody because you don't want to cost yourself too much time while passing. But when you have a loose condition or a potentially loose condition, and when you go to cut, it can over-rotate. See, I'm going back. Yeah, I'm like, okay. So I'm basically floating through the turns at this point, which is a technique I learned driving on snow in upstate New York. And which comes into quite good use here at Dover on used tires, especially if you're a little bit loose. So here I am. If you notice my steering wheel motions, I like to set up that kind of the car truck kind of half turns in by itself when there's banked track like here. See, look at that. Then I'm turning. So it looks like I'm turning late, and I am, because I don't have to turn so much. If I turn too quick, I'm going to end up on the curb and probably wreck. That's my setup. That's what I prefer because I realize that you can get through the turns faster that way, and I like that. That works for me. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm making this particular video is to kind of explain to anybody what the hell am I doing, because some of the stuff I do probably seems a little strange. But I've been sim racing a very long time and love a challenge. Not too much of a challenge. I'm not a masochist, but I like a challenge. I like competitiveness. I like racing offline because it allows me to perfect setups, Not because I want to win everything. I mean, I'm a racer. Of course I want to win everything. That's a given. Anybody who races and says they don't care about winning is probably lying to themselves more than anything. But anyway, but I do understand the realistic issue of not having the fastest truck, and instead of wrecking the field, you finish 10th, which I'm all for, because that's just respect. But my main thing is control, see, I'm loose here, and if I get into really, really close racing with the aero nuances in NASCAR Heat 4, I can get in the middle, like right now, if I'm in the middle, and I've been here before, the truck's going to start handling differently, and I might not be able to keep from hitting the truck on the outside or the truck on the inside. And I don't want to be in that position when I'm racing with real people online, where, because I'll back out. I can't go for it. I'll back out. And I use the offline to perfect the setup so that I know I can go 3 wide out of turn 2 at Bristol and make it stick. And I might rub somebody, but I'm not going to wreck them. Yeah, I know. But that's me. Because if you're just going out there and you're an unguided missile, that's not really fun for anybody, is it? Being able to, race somebody who's faster than you and finish second to them, to me, is more of an accomplishment than taking them out and beating them. What the hell's the point? All you did was take him out, so you weren't racing him, were you, or her? You were just being an asshole. But that's how I look at it. If you take a look now, my tire wear is down to about 2/3. This is where I got into trouble last time. I'm already feeling it. You can see by the way I'm driving it. See, I'm coming up, and I'm like right there. Yep, it just wants to keep turning, and I'm just turning it to the right, or feeding it right, so I can still keep my foot down and not spin out. And one of the things I also do, because I use force feedback. As soon as I got force feedback, I was sold on it. I'm like, geez, this is like night and day as far as being able to race better and perfect your setups. See, when I'm turning the wheel, if I got a good setup, I can kind of feel, especially if the front end is right, I can kind of feel there's like a little spot where I know if I turn it more, I'm gonna break the rear end loose. And I like loose setups, so that's very important to me, knowing how far I can turn it. And then there's a little trick with offset. I don't remember how much offset I run here. I know I run a little bit, probably a 125 on this particular race. And what offset essentially is caster, and that's how, or toe in or toe out, kind of thing. I say that not knowing for sure because it kind of acts like that to me, but it's like equal. Like in NASCAR 13, 14, and 15, you can adjust your caster separately. There's a setup thing about, like, when it comes to like track bar and spring rate in your rear and such. It's not so much how much you have in your right or how much you have in your left. Sometimes it's the total amount that's the first most important thing to figure out. 12 and 12, is 24 when you add them together, but then you got to split it. So how you split it, then we'll fine tune it. And I say that because for whatever reason, my Steam versions of NASCAR 13, 14, and 15, where it seems like everybody else can adjust the track bar left and right settings, I can only adjust them together. I pick the left side and the right side would move the same. I pick the right side and the left side would move. So I used to make those setups with a uniform track bar setting across the rear. So NASCAR Heat 3, when I got 2 track bars, I was like, like Christmas. I was like, oh, awesome. I can start, fine-tuning and such. And I had some really good setups in NASCAR Heat 3. And then they changed the physics. Everybody's pitting. No, this guy was supposed to be a caution. That could have been a caution, but I avoided it. So I'm like, well, should I wreck myself? Because, of course, in NASCAR Heat 4, you can repair yourself completely. It might take you more than one pit stop, but I haven't experienced that either. But you could still just, go back to 100%, which I don't like, and I don't like no DNFs. I mean, everybody else can DNF, and the only way you can DNF is if you stop the race, but then you can start it over again automatically. I'm not really into that. So, turn that down. So here I am in the lead. I'm in the danger zone on tires, and I get a caution. See, that's luck. So we got 22 laps to go. Oh, yeah, see, that's not going to count. Thank God they changed that bug. It's an NASCAR 3 bug. Yeah, so 22 laps. I don't even see what I did there. But I probably adjusted tires more. I probably didn't adjust wedge, because I didn't want to... As I know what I got. In 22 laps to go, I'm like, yeah.
To the green, driver.
You just saw I got the lead, and I could take the lead. I think I was, 15th on the last restart. And I got the lead way before 20 laps to go. Way before 20 laps into the run, so here, that's what I'm doing. Here I am. This is where you see a lot of my videos. Last 20 laps of the race. I'm top 15, and I got to get up to the front.
Clear high.
And I'm going. Now, every time you make an air pressure change or even a wedge change, when you're going into the first turn for the first time or the third turn for the first time, especially in the first couple laps, like if you lower your air pressure like I did a couple times, you're like, you don't know if it's going to stick. So you kind of like got to let off. And here I'm on the inside, and I know I got to let off anyway because it was 3 wide.
Still there.
So you kind of like got to be aware,
You're clear.
you know,
All right,
so as
clear
you don't
outside.
scrub up the track into the guy on the outside and cause a wreck.
Still there. All clear.
Christian Eckes. Whatever you think of this guy, in real life, he won the ARCA Series championship. He's driving a KBM truck, which is a 5-star, or I guess you'd call it a 100% truck, which is equivalent to what I'm driving, I believe. And so he's strong. So he's in good equipment.
Careful. Still there.
And on any given day, a driver in good equipment can beat your ass
All
quite
clear.
decisively. All depends. Rub the wall. Silver stripe there. Yeah, I think I bumped up the tire pressure because there's only 20 laps left because I wanted to make sure of speed. And like in 20 laps, I'm probably thinking I can't really get into trouble. And then I'm like, just slid off the wall and the caution came out. And I'm like, yeah, maybe 15 laps. Yeah, I did that. Let's do it again. I want the win. I smell blood in the water, so I'm like,
Coming to the
since
green.
there are no restrictions, I just go for it. You know, and it's AI,
Ready to go. Car there on the inside.
and there's no penalties for it other than, you know, having to go up through the field
Clear all
again.
around.
See, when you're dealing with AI and they're predictable, it's much different. I have no rivals, so I don't have to worry about somebody trying to take me out. Learned that from that rival system in NASCAR Heat 3, which is just horrible. I remember one Xfinity season I lost the championship because even though I didn't touch Clemens for like 20 races after I accidentally wrecked him, I think at Daytona,
Clear high, bud.
and then again accidentally I wrecked and just, you know, he happened to hit me, so somehow I became his rival, or he became my rival because
Clear outside.
of a situation like that. Bam, yep. So yeah, I should have been more patient, and I should have seen that Eckes was going to stay on the outside, and I would have to be 3 wide, and the truck wouldn't take that kind of quick turn to the left. But bounced off the wall on the left. Shouldn't be too much of an issue arrow-wise because it's on the left side.
You're clear.
As I mentioned before, that seems to have a bearing. Like, you know, you hit your nose, it's probably going to affect you no matter what track you're at.
You're clear.
You hit your rear, probably same thing. But, and the right side, yeah, has the potential there. But left side, it's kind of different. Not that any damage is good, but better to have it on the left middle than probably anywhere else on the car. And I still managed a 24-1 there, so even though I'm 99% aero, according to the little telltale there, I'm in pretty good shape. See, what bothers me about this setup is I got 20 degrees difference in tire temp, middle tire temp, from front right to right rear, but yet I got excessive tire wear and I'm running loose. So that says I don't have enough weight on the right rear potentially, or too much weight on the left front, since there's a 60-degree difference. So there's something going on with the balance I have to address, and I eventually figure out that it is wedge.
5 to go.
And I
5 to
know
go.
in a later race I upped the wedge on this particular setup. Still a good setup. You know, I know I could easily finish in the top 10 if I didn't, you know, play tire strategy. But you know, I can win, and who doesn't want to win? You know? And the only regret I have in this race is that I overcut into Jennifer Jo Cobb there and wrecked her. I don't like doing stuff like that, but it's not that it was, you know, wasn't my fault. I was driving the truck, I cut, and it overcut, and I should have been aware of that, but, you know, racing incident. Definitely not intentional. So here I am, 3.5 second lead. Yep, see it overcut again. It's weird, it gets to a point where, like, near the beginning of the run, or like, 5-10 laps in, and it'll start to overcut over there. And then it kind of balances out later on. But only 2 laps left, so all I have to do is hold it between the walls. And I'm coming up on Jennifer Joe, it looks like, too. So I'm like, nope, not wrecking her. Got over 3 seconds, almost 4-second lead. Just gotta, you can see I'm like, tiptoeing. Yep. Because she's that much slower in this race. Yeah, I ran a half-second slower there. It's like, I want to win. I don't want to wreck. So I probably should have lowered the air pressure when I was thinking about it back then, but I won. All info and things to take into the next race. Here we go. So there you go. So you got fuel management, you got tire management, and you got strategy. Planning your pit stop. It's probably your last pit stop. It's probably, if you got a good setup, it's probably the most important to keeping you or putting you in a position to win, depending on your situation. Like I said, if I got a good setup and I know I can go 40 laps, say, without, and be the fastest car on the track, it doesn't happen as often as you think. But if I can, because I've been there, especially a lot with NASCAR Heat 3, then I'm like, it doesn't really matter. As long as I'm not restarting, 30th with 2 laps to go, I'll be fine. So I had that happen at Cup Hot Seat at Daytona, because I had bad tire wear, and if I didn't have to pit, I had to pit, because I was like near wrecking coming out of turns 2 and 4. It was just slide up on me, and on a restart, I was like, nope, that's going to be a wreck, and I'll be like 30th. So I pitted and ended up 10th. But I was 10th in my first Cup Hot Seat at a big track, full race. So I think it was Daytona. I think it was the July Daytona race, I think. It could have been Talladega. But either way, 160, 188 laps in a 4-star car, finishing 10th. That's pretty damn good. I think I won the first 2 stages, too, or at least one of them. And finished good. So even though I finished 10th, I got a lot more points. That's another thing with stages. I know not all you race stages, but, man, you win 2 stages, you get 2 playoff points if you're going for a championship and championship season or career, and you also get 10 season points, or even finishing, second, 9th, 8th, you get that many extra points, and you get 1 point for each spot that you finish in a race. So, if you finish 10th in a race, but you got 10 points in the stages, so it's like you got the same amount of points as finishing first. Maybe without the playoff points, but that's important if you're built, like in career mode, and you're trying to get a better ride, because, the requirements of the rides, like a 4-star ride, you got to be top 20. For a 5-star ride, you got to be top 10. So points are important, and I so much more appreciate the stage system from simming, the game with stages, because it's like, hell yeah, I want to be, in a better ride. So if I get more points, and I therefore can get more points in the championship and finish higher and be eligible for a better ride, then hell yeah. Oh, I want to see how what happened with me hitting the wall on the inside there. 8 laps to go. See, and also you see here, I'm sliding, because my wheel is turned to the right, turned to the left, and the truck is sliding up. That's that loose condition. That's a tight loose, or just like no grip, or ice skates. All be described the same way. I'm really loose, but because of no grip and a good balance on the truck, the loose, translates to feels more like a tight inside the car because you're turning it or it won't turn. It's like sliding up into the second lane. Yep. So I turned it. Bam. Here. See, he's on the outside. And I didn't figure him to be on the outside. I figured it'd be too wide. So I've done 100 times. And when it all... Oop. No, he's there. Bam. See, I expected the truck in front of me to be where Christian Eckes was because I didn't realize he was still on his outside. 105 speed rating, can't do better than that. Yep, won all the stages, so I got max points. Yeah, this is a good season. Good money. See that merch payout? Yeah, fans. Well, how do you get fans? You win in the higher series. You get like 100 fans or 200 fans for winning a truck race, but you get like 5,000 or something for the higher series races, and then they buy more stuff at the next race, and you get more money. So merchandising, yep. Somehow that is a real life thing, What do they say? Dale Jr. is worth like over 300 million, and like 80% of it came from his merchandising. 23.9, cool. So I have a good setup, but I gotta fine tune it. Yeah, well, I do this next part basically for people, I guess, just to see, and I don't edit it or anything, so you see what my settings were, so you can relate to whatever you're doing, faster, slower, same, whatever. Because if I'm, what I was talking about today mainly is, can be applied to anything, including real life racing. But, sometimes I might comment on my videos. I write comments. I comment something that's, more specific. So I give you what I'm dealing with. Say 176 fans for a win at Dover. And what I do to the truck. Can't be perfect, right? I think 80 is the max you can get. So I get moderate, 79. So I think that's too light of a penalty for bouncing it off the inside wall there. But that's me. Made my contract. A little extra money there. Yep. Took him out. Yep, I totally wrecked. Yes, it did, Genjo. Sorry about that. And, yep, schedule. I like when you actually got to see the races in the schedule there and didn't have to go into it. So I'm getting ready for the next race automatically, and I'm like, no, I'm doing a video, so here. See, this is a Legend, full damage, 100% length, normal. Driving, no draft partners. I only run drafting at Daytona and Talladega. Wide skill range. Expanded starting spread. Frequent mechanical failures, especially in, you get almost none. So I decided to add some. Well, thank you guys so much for staying with me through this, and more to come. Keep rolling.